Hey everybody, it's happening. This is lovely. I am Stephanie, if we haven't met already. And today the lovely Amber Lyda is with us. Yay, yay, yay. In the group. And I'm excited about this topic. I know I told this to Amber already, but every time I hear you talk about the economy, something like happens inside me. And it's a difficult topic. It's we're hearing a lot of things about it all over the place. There's a wide reaction, or like a wide range of reactions. People who are like, nope, not watching the news, don't want to know, all the way to like total panic and like my
Hmm.
business is doomed. So there's this like huge spectrum happening. And I think all of us practice owners and just therapists in general are trying to navigate and figure out, okay, so something is clearly happening in the economy right now. What does that mean for me?
Hmm.
What are ways that I can be thinking about this? Keeping myself really grounded and centered, but also like wise and
Yes.
prepared.
Yes.
So I think I'm excited to discuss this. Um, Before we dive in, can you just say a little bit about who you are and the work you do to orient folks who may not be in your world?
Sure. My name is Amber Lyda. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I left the safety of university counseling life um, because I was freaking exhausted and wasn't living a life outside of work at all. I loved my job, but outside my job, it was a little bit lackluster. And so I took a big strategic leap, left, started an online only private pay only practice, having never done any sort of business before. This was in like 2015, I think. So everybody thought I was out of my dang mind. I mean, really, like they were like, what are you doing? But part of my personality is very much like, let me think about the life that I want to live. And now, what are the steps that I need to take to at least try to make that life happen?
Mhm.
And that's how I approach the economy stuff too. Like, let me gather some information and let me do what I can do to like exert whatever level of control and influence I have to keep myself safe and to keep the people around me safe.
Hmm.
And that's sort of what I did. So, yeah. And then I diversified from private practice into business coaching for therapists and teaching people to build online practices and market to private pay clients and doing fun stuff like this.
Yay. So, so good. I also think, like, I think that's such a perfect example of how you're on the forefront of things. Like you were teaching people how to build online only practices 5 years before COVID hit, and everyone was like, okay, I have to figure out how to work online.
Yeah.
And I can think of some other things too that you just tend to have a very like visionary and pioneering kind of spirit. So I'm happy to, hear your thoughts
I
on
appreciate
this
that.
topic as well.
I have to tell you a funny thing that just happened recently around this topic. So, my husband and I are basically polar opposites in most ways. And so, we're talking about the news and the economy, and he's pretty nihilistic when it comes to that kind of stuff like it's all going to crap and there's nothing we can do. And I'm like, but what kind of crap is it going to? And let's try to prepare for that, you know? Like, what I literally my brain is like, okay, so just in case, like, all right, so this bad thing happens, then maybe if we invested in this, then we would be in a good position to take care of ourselves and our family and like our discounted clients and he's exactly the opposite. Like he's like, oh, it's gonna be bad. There's nothing we can do. Guess we'll just roll with the punches. And I'm like, no, no, no.
You're like, no, no, I'm gonna plan and map it
Let's make a little
out.
plan.
Oh my gosh. And I'm somewhere a little bit different entirely. I'm kind of like, my little sensitive soul is just so, like, it gets set off so easily that I'm kind of like, okay, I kind of have to like dip in and out. Like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
totally unaware, um, all of the time. But I do need like space. And so I want to name that too as people are listening. Like, if this activates you in any way to, the replay is going to be here. Take care of yourself. You can pop in, pop out, get the highlights, whatever. But it's a wild world that we're living in. And it can hit us out of nowhere, like things can get hit that we aren't expecting. And especially if you have clients to see or other things to do, just take care of yourself so you can do
Yes.
what you need to do today.
And remember
Um,
too, like nobody actually knows what's happening or what will happen. We don't know. We
yeah.
don't know. So, in times of uncertainty, then I really like certainty. So, I'm going to exert control where I can. And you can just take that. Like, you don't need to catastrophize, but just anytime like things are a little like, don't know what's going to happen here. Then I start when the pandemic hit, you better believe I was applying for EAPs like the very next day. I'm like, I'm going to take care of myself. We are diversifying our income streams right now because I don't know what's coming. I
Hmm.
didn't end up needing them, and most people I knew didn't, but we're just getting prepared just in case. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah, right. Strategic. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me check in the comments. I see some hello from Tennessee, East Tennessee. LaDonna taught me you have to be specific about where you are in Tennessee because it's a big place.
Oh, yeah.
And some fire. Yay, and some Arkansas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, North Carolina. Good, good, good. We have people from all over. Feel free to put questions in the chat. We can make this a discussion, but I have questions that I want to guide us through as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
So, are we good to get started?
Let's do
Thumbs
it.
up, thumbs up. Okay. Um, so this is from uncertain to unstoppable. I like that kind of
I
energy.
love it.
I know, I know. Okay. So our first question is, there's a lot of noise right now about the economy. So how can therapists stay grounded and make smart, strategic decisions instead
Mhm.
of reactive ones?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me just get my breath and get myself centered. I think the place that I have to think about is I go to a place of like, I can't get lost in the details of the things that are happening right now, or I will spin
Hmm.
and I will feel like a helplessness. So I start, this is not what I plan to say at all in answer to this question, but I start to pull out to a bigger picture view, like what has always been true of humans, what has always been true through history, you know, and I get a much broader perspective, which helps me stay calm and grounded. And the truth is, over the course of history, our our level of luxury has gone steadily up, even when there are places of big dips in between. Like the general arc has been up and the general arc will be up. So that's helpful. If I can think of anything that could be happening is likely to be temporary because it always has been. So, how do I prepare myself for any sort of temporary uncertainty? I throw into self care. I make sure that I am maybe not spending the way that I might normally have been spending if I'm not sure what's going on. And I'm saving money for things that are going to help me to earn more money. If I'm going to be spending money, it's going to be on things that are going to help me earn money, not on a new pair of earrings or some flashy handbag. So I'm thinking about like, how can I decrease my spending, increase my savings? Number one. How can I be very strategic about my investments? So I'm investing things in things that are going to give me a good ROI and not going to, I don't know why I'm obsessed about handbags right now because I am not in real life, but invest in some big ass handbag that sits in my closet, right? And then thinking in terms of my practice, how can I diversify the way that I'm getting paid? So if we think about the way therapists get paid, you're going to get paid through private pay. You might get paid through four different insurance companies, maybe through an EAP. Think through like, gosh, if all I'm getting paid through is Blue Cross Blue Shield and nothing else, maybe pick up another insurance company just to have a couple, or maybe have one EAP. Or maybe even diversify the way that you're offering your therapy sessions, like intensives are a freaking brilliant way, so that you can get paid in different ways, even within your practice. Also, did not plan to say this, but I'm gonna. If you're thinking a side hustle is a way you're going to stabilize your income right now, it's not. And I'm a side hustle fan. I love me a side hustle, but they take a long time to start picking up strength, as opposed to sliding a couple new private pay clients in or a couple new intensives clients in. You already have the skills to do those things. So do the things you have the skills to do, not the things that are going to take a massive learning curve and then take a long time to start generating revenue.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you.
Try
So
not to go
I
too
know
far
I'm
too
like
fast.
interesting, real talk, and not just the professional side, but the personal side too. Yeah, I think spending money on things that are going to make you money.
Yep.
That makes so much sense. Not things that are going to instantly be devalued,
Right.
or that will not generate anything new.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to keep us moving because we have some golden questions that are approaching. So, what are some common missteps that therapists might make, like with all honest, sincere effort, trying to protect, their practice, their livelihood? And when you see these things, are there things that you think like, oh, actually, you could be doing this instead and maybe getting to where you were trying to go in the first place?
Yeah, dude. Yes. Multiple things. I think sometimes people go into a panic. And so they start taking any client that comes in the door. And I think that's very dangerous. So the two ways that they might do this is a non-ideal client. They're like, I gotta see anybody because who knows what's gonna happen. I need to get money in the door. But if you're seeing a client who's a terrible fit, they are never going to talk greatly about you to other people. And that's your primary source of recurring revenue in your practice is your own clients and the great work you do with them. So don't be taking willy-nilly people who you know are not a good fit. Now, could they be an average fit? That's okay. But a really non-ideal fit just because you're desperate, that's a bad move. Similarly, dropping your rates because you're panicking prematurely is a real bad idea. Because when things do happen with the economy, what history tells us is there's like a kind of a bifurcation. So the people who have the most money are the least impacted by economic change. They're the last to be impacted. So they're still spending lots of cash. And I'm not talking about the uber wealthy, them too, but even like the kind of higher middle income, they're least affected up here.
Mhm.
But then the folks who are in the middle class, they're either going up or they're going down. So if you start adding folks at super sliding scales, what you end up doing is you subsidize their sliding scale spots with your electric bill, with your, gift for your kid for their upcoming birthday, with your teenager's car for their 16th birthday. Like you're subsidizing that, as opposed to if you were strategic and you thought, instead of taking on five more clients who are not a good fit and who cannot pay my rate, let me use that time to market so that I can get people up here who can then subsidize the money that I am letting go with my lower paying clients. Instead of coming from your own bills, let's have that money coming from your higher clients, which is what I did in my practice. I saw 20 to 25% of my caseload pro bono, which I wouldn't actually recommend. I would say like at least pay $10. Um, but I was able to do that because I was charging a lot for my paid sessions. And so rather than me taking the hit personally for discounting those sessions, I was able to pull it out of the extra income that I was making from those private pay clients. And there will still be lots of private pay clients. That's just a fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. I just the belief of saying like that there are people who can still pay. There are people who are not affected or not affected at the same level. And to think, okay, I want to be strategic about how to market to that specific person and whatever their pain point or their vision for transformation
Mm-hmm.
is right now. So smart.
Yes.
And part of me is like, well, aren't those the people who are like potentially very interested or would find an intensive very appealing.
Hell
You know,
yes. Hell
not
yes.
not interesting. Okay, okay.
But
And
wait. Before you move on, they're exactly the people who will find intensives interesting because they're like, oh, yeah, I can afford that. But also, like, I'm not in that category. Like, I'm not the uber rich, but I'm like upper middle class. And I don't like that it's called class, socioeconomic class. And so for me, intensives feel like a cheaper way
Hmm.
of doing therapy than doing 3 years of freaking therapy that are sucking up a lot of my time and more income. Whereas
Mhm.
if I can just go deep and pay like a premium price to be able to go deep and have it done, it's actually a
Mhm.
cost savings for me in my mind.
Right, especially if like your time is your commodity, not your
Oh,
money.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. The other thing I thought when you were talking was I definitely may have made that mistake earlier on when I got freaked out that the summer was quiet or whatever time of year, and then ended up saying yes to tons of people, exhausted myself,
And
and
no time to market.
no time to market. I'm unhappy, because I don't have my perfect fit client. And those people who you get a gut feeling like this is probably not the right person for me, they just sap your energy
Yep.
so much. So, like,
Right.
you may be getting the financial benefit, but the depletion of your like time, not time,
Your
like
energy.
energy and well-being is massive. So I was like,
Yeah. And
yes,
think
let's
about
be
like,
careful. Like, don't swing to the other extreme and take every single person who reaches out to you.
right. And if you had used that, if your people would use that summer slump or I didn't take that client because it was going to be a terrible fit and I just knew it. If they use that time to instead create an intensive VIP package, then they would have made triple the revenue and worked much, much less. So sometimes you just have to think more strategically and longer term than the end of the month. If
Mhm.
you think 3 months, 6 months, 12 months out, you're going to make different decisions with how you use your time.
Mm. That is, ooh, I, was it a podcast or a training recently was saying like people who are very successful business owners are having that much bigger picture. I think it was, not that this context matters, but I think it was someone talking about their clients who see six figures of revenue versus seven figures of revenue aren't stuck on the metrics of the month. They're looking at the
Oh,
much bigger picture and bigger trends.
yes.
So
Yes.
interesting that we should do that too. Because I know when I was in like weekly client caseload, I'm counting my weekly hours, I'm counting my daily hours, I'm counting my month. Like I live or die by that. And maybe that was sabotaging me a little bit to not have
Yeah.
like a more, like you were saying, like that broader, bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's possible. I mean, obviously there's like monthly bills that have to be met. But if you're in a place where you have a little bit of a cushion or you can think that way to
Mhm.
definitely adjust.
Yeah. Because if you feel ever, and I agree, you and I are on the same page about like, we don't coach people to like hold the line and don't take anybody until they're going to pay you $500 an hour. And meanwhile, like, you can't pay for your water bill. Like, that's not what we're saying at all.
Mhm.
But if you have a few spare hours because that spot didn't fill and you have enough of a cushion to be planning for 3 months from now, use that 3 hours to serve you in a bigger way than desperation filling that spot with somebody who can't pay your rate or isn't a good fit.
Mhm. Man, and easier said than done, right? Like a
Yeah,
huge,
absolutely.
huge, hugely important and also difficult to implement. But that's why we're like here and talking about it and supporting each other.
And in community.
Yes. Ooh, okay. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Let's keep rolling. Um, where are we? Ooh, we did talk about this. I'm gonna ask it again in a different way and see just what if there's anything else that needs to be said. But why are intensives such a powerful option in this economy, like
Okay.
as it's shifting? And how can it help therapists earn more while still like serving deeply?
Ooh, girl. Okay. Do you know, like when you have too many answers that come into your brain all at the same time, you're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to hold on to all of these?
Tidal wave.
Okay. I'm going to answer for myself and then I'm going to answer for other people. Y'all, if you follow me at all, you know that as much as I love doing therapy with people, I do not love being in therapy. I know that sounds terrible. But what I don't like about it is that my little brain is a compartmentalizer. And so when I go to therapy and I open up a bunch of painful stuff, then I'm like, I got all that crap open now when I need to get other stuff done. Whereas if I can go deep, even if it was like my dream therapy would be like, let's do 3 hours for 3 days. And then
Mhm.
we do that like every quarter or every 6 months. I would be so happy. And I would pay so much extra to be able to do it like that than to have to come in every freaking week and waste 10 minutes in the beginning and 5 minutes at the end because we're small talking and figuring out the schedule. And it just feels like a total waste. I would much rather invest. So for me, intensives are always the right answer in any economy because that's just the way that I would prefer to receive my therapy. When I think about my clients were asking for intensives before I even knew that intensives were a thing. They would say, like, 50 minutes just doesn't feel like enough. Can we meet for 2 hours? Like, can we meet for 3 hours? And I'm like, are you sure you can afford to do that? I mean, really, I was trying to talk them out of it out of fear for somebody else's finances. They were fine, y'all. And they wanted to do it weekly or every other week.
Yeah.
So, side note, don't project your own financial situation onto somebody else. You do not know what their situation is. And my poor clients basically had to prove to me that they could afford to do it because I was like, I don't know, man. I don't want to take advantage of you. Are you sure? Is this really okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. But I also think that if you're thinking in terms of, and you guys might not be, but I am often thinking in terms of like, how do I subsidize generosity? Because that's part of my core value. So how do I subsidize that? And I am gonna willing to give some of my income, but I also don't want it to all come from my income. So if I can create a VIP offer that brings in a lot more money for less time, then
Mhm.
I can use that to subsidize the way that I'm generous to other people, whether it's through donations or sliding scale spots or pro bono. I think it's a really nice way, if that is your value system, to keep living by your values without giving up more of your time. Because what I see therapists doing is getting into panic and
Mhm.
then taking on 35 clients a week and then having no time left for themselves or their families.
Mhm.
So think about like even what's it called? The diathesis stress model. Is that what it was?
Ooh.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. But when you know you're going into a potentially stressful situation, what we know we're supposed to do is triple down on taking good care of ourselves and our family, like get good sleep, make sure that you have time off work to decompress. Intensives are a real good way to maintain or grow your income without having to grow the hours of time that you're working every week. So if we're going to a stressful period of time, let's make sure that we're like shoring up our foundation so we can ride through it smoothly.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Makes a ton of sense. Um, I'm seeing comments. Yeah, let's say it. Your thoughts on intensives via telehealth, pros and cons. I'm telehealth only, but I have a vision. Yes!
Yay. I
You
love the
can
vision.
definitely do intensives online, not a problem. And in fact, I think there's going to be certain clients who will prefer that more than being in person. So she's like, it's me. So, like, just know your people and make it available. We
Yeah.
talk all about like in Launch Guide, there's a whole lesson about considerations for virtual intensives, like ways to still make it a very premium, high touch experience while it's virtual. So there's like fun things you can do, but at the nitty-gritty baseline level, like yes, you can definitely do virtual intensives.
and just decide that that's what you're going to do and then find the clients who want it. So
Yeah.
it's not a question of will I be able to? It is like, this is what is important to me. I want to be able to travel. I want to have the freedom to not give up a bunch of income to an office space. And if that's what you want, then
Mhm.
do all the things necessary to make that happen, which is going to be making sure you know your ideal client, that you're getting your messaging tight and in front of them, that you're able to communicate the transformative value of the intensive that you're offering, and they're going to magnetize to you. And then you guys are going to be perfectly fitted for one another. So, yes, it is possible. And just create the dang thing, and the people will come.
For sure. Okay. I'm seeing. Yes, so many insurance clients beg for more time more often. Unfortunately, insurance clients are all that I've ever seen, so this is a brain stretch thinking of cash pay. Any advice for a clinician in my situation? Just that you're not alone.
Mhm.
This is a brain stretch for a lot of us. Literally, well, first of all, when I started private practice, I laughed when someone told me that their rate was 150. I thought like, oh, I don't know anyone who can charge that much and people pay and you have a whole fake caseload of that. And then if at that time you would have told me people would pay me $5,000 for for a therapy experience, I would never have believed you. So it is a brain stretch, for sure.
Yeah.
And I know like you're perfectly like teed up for this question. So, Amber, what do you want to share about this?
Just that I felt the exact same. When I heard my friends who were in private practice were charging 200, 250, I really thought that they were selfish monsters, if I'm being frank. I was like, who would ever pay that much for therapy? And then my butt ended up paying that much for therapy because my therapist could do what I needed him to do. Um, I think sometimes we think that other people are very similar to us. So, whatever our financial situation is, we tend to have friends who are in the same financial situation. And so then we think everybody is in that financial situation. But that's not true.
Hmm.
And then I think we also make a second error, which is, and I see it all the time in the Facebook groups, which is like, oh, the people who can afford that are just rich. Like they don't have real problems. First of all, everybody has mental health problems. And the research on this is super clear that money doesn't decrease your mental health problems. You know, like you look at people who've won the lottery and they feel better for 3 months, and then they're right back to where they were emotionally before they won the lottery. So, our mental health is our mental health, and it crosses all socioeconomic spectrums. So it really feels like an ugly bias to me when people are like, oh, people who have money to pay $200 an hour, they don't really deserve our help. I think that's a bunch of BS. It really offends me. Um, and then I'll say this, I, to this day, struggle with charging my coaching rate to this day. And I don't advertise it, even though I should, because I don't like, I just feel uncomfortable. So the only people who ever know it are people who like actually go looking. And I just had a client, a coaching client, tell me the other day, I'm getting myself ready. Okay. Okay. So my coaching rate, which probably should be higher, but it's high to me, is $500 for 50 minutes. And I always feel weird. But that's not where I make my money. I make my money in my courses. So I'm like, well, I mean, I don't want to be doing a bunch of that anyway, because it's really not leveraged financially. I make most of my money in other places. So I set it there and I'm like, nobody's going to sign up. And then somebody signs up. And after the session, they said, well, my husband and I sat down after you and I talked and we did the math that you talked to us about. And we realized that without working harder at all, we could make an additional $30,000 a year simply by letting go of this insurance company and turning up the volume on this insurance company. So not even the market, not doing private pay, like none of that. And I'm like, oh, okay. That makes me like that makes me feel better about my rate. And this
Yes.
for your freaking clients. They're feeling the same way. And if they don't, they are grown ass humans who can opt out. They can be like, you know what? This isn't actually worth it for me. Okay, cool. They move along. Nothing lost here.
Mhm.
So your rate really is about if people will pay it. And you don't know if they'll pay it until you put it out into the world and do the things you need to do to make sure people are seeing it. And then you know if people can pay it.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to spend $500 to have a strategy to make 30,000 more dollars?
Right. Right.
In all
Yeah.
honesty, like it's scary. Um, and there's not it's not like a guarantee thing. It's not like they paid it and then the money instantly appeared in their bank account. But but yeah, value, I'm thinking
And
about that.
think about the work you guys do because that's a like kind of an easy $500 for $30,000. Like, okay. But in therapy, that's not the kind of work we're doing. So it feels
Right.
more intangible. My own therapist, little butthead that he is, he told me once when I was balking at his price, I was like, that's how much a car, if I did that for a year, that's a car. I could buy a car for that. And he's like, yeah, yeah. Now you've told me that you don't want to keep picking the same narcissistic partners, and you've got about, he did the math, like, I don't know, 50 years to live or whatever. Would you like to spend the next 50 years? He did not say it like this. This is me amplifying it. But do you want to spend the next 50 years with another narcissist? Or would you like to have somebody where the relationship is actually fulfilling? And I was like, yeah, that's
Wow.
worth a car payment.
Or to be like, yeah, I'd rather have that than a car. Like,
Right.
in all honesty.
Right, right. And to be clear, y'all, he didn't say it like that, but that was the point. You know, like the
Right.
results you get for people are significant
Hmm.
and they're not significant for everybody because we're not made to work with everybody. So you really do need to think about who is the person that you naturally are transformative with and
Yeah.
market to that person, offer intensives to that person because
Yeah.
for them, your work is going to be worth that money because of the transformation it creates in their life.
Right. Like if it's so in your situation, it was like having a relationship with someone that it is not colored by narcissism. Maybe for someone, it's like I can go home and actually feel comfortable and not on edge, or feel
Mhm.
like I'm failing as a parent every
Yes.
single time I open my mouth. Or like, with trauma work, I can leave the house when it's dark outside and not feel like I'm literally in complete danger. Like those things are huge, huge.
Mhm.
I could have a grief reminder without having like not being able to get out of bed for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Like
Right.
whatever it is, that's so, so valuable, meaningful to clients.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Um, I love this in the chat too. I needed to hear the message of committing to the idea and stop questioning.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the place that we are to say, like, this is the moment to lean towards it, to lean in.
Mhm.
And whether that's like niching down or really committing to a specific service or type of service or whatever it is, that can be the difference than just sort of like
I'll
generally
take whatever
existing in your
comes.
practice. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And
being willy-nilly.
you just brought up a point that I had forgotten about earlier, which is the mistakes that therapists make when they get like nervous. And the big mistake that they make is they get too general. They're like, oh no, I'm not getting enough clients. So let me try to appeal to everybody. Anxiety, depression, relationship issues, ADHD. Like, you know, but when you do that, nobody finds you.
Hmm.
Only going to find you the tighter your niche is, and you can have as many as you want, but they should each have their own web page on your website, or you're not going to get found. So the tighter that niche is, the more likely you will to be found and to be picked. Because just think about like when you're looking for a doctor and you've got 20 pages in front of you of exactly the same freaking copy. How do you know who to pick? Then it's just random. Like you're just picking somebody alphabetically, you know? But
Yeah.
if you're super specific, you're just easier to find on the internet. That's just how it works.
Hmm. Man, I could not agree more. It's scary, but it is true. It is honestly the truth. You hear that question all the time, like, how important is a niche? Do I need a niche? Yes. So if this is like, I mean, we all have practices in this economy to take this opportunity to sharpen the messaging
Yes.
as
Yes.
sharp, That's kind of a gross metaphor. I was going to say as pointy and poignant as it can be. No, I don't like that. Um, as like,
Specific.
yes. That is something practical and within your control that we can all do. And like you said, you might have multiples. Like, I'm
Yeah.
a great example. I have like a really specific page on my website about religious trauma. Not everybody I see has religious trauma. I don't only see that, but you better believe the people, I mean, years later, I'm still getting inquiry after inquiry because that page is so specific,
Yes.
um, or medical trauma or whatever it is. Like, no, all my clients don't have that exactly, but when they land on that page, they
Hmm.
know that I know what they're going through, and I'm saying I can help you with that. That makes a
Yes.
huge difference versus just landing on a site that's like, I'm a therapist and I'm really caring and compassionate and I want to walk with you. Like,
I'm not paying a lot of money for that. I'm not
that's
paying a lot.
beautiful. But I mean, I hopefully everybody kind of has that vibe to some degree. It
Right.
doesn't it doesn't capture people's attention. It doesn't make you memorable.
Yeah.
If they're taking more time to make a decision with their money,
Yep.
it's going to matter who is memorable. So then when they get set off again in the middle of the night because their anxiety is racing or their trauma symptom or they're replaying that argument or moment with their kid, like you're the one who's going to pop up in their mind. And they'll be like,
Exactly.
oh gosh, what was that again? I should probably go back and look. And maybe this time I'll fill out the form or whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus just the sea of people that you sort of like mindlessly scroll through.
Right. And especially in uncertain economy times, the more specific you are, the better. Because if I'm going to part with my hard earned money for an intensive, then I want to know that that person already knows my soul. Like, I want to read it in their copy. I want to know that they already get me before we've even met because I am their flow client, their ideal client. So, like if the website copy is generic, I'm only willing to pay generic costs for it. You take my $20 copay, that's all I'm paying. But if it's really specific and speaks to who I am, then I'm like, yeah, that's going to save me money overall if I can get in there and work with somebody who already gets me and I don't have to spend the first 12 sessions trying to help this person understand who I am. It's clear to me they
Yeah.
already get it on their website. Take my money.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I feel like that's where adding really specific blog content that gives people practical skills that make their life better before they
Yeah.
ever talk to you, or being really, really, really specific about the dynamics that they might be uh, sorting through. I'm thinking of people who I worked with someone recently who has a killer website and they work specifically with Asian men and
Mm-hmm.
around a specific topic, relationships, medical providers, and this specifically. Like that's gonna come across. There's already this like shared language and inherent trust and authority more than just, some random name that they
Absolutely.
Googled or whatever. So anyway, okay. Specific, specific, specific. Doubling down. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that? Because I think we're getting to your favorite question.
Oh, then no.
We planned for this, and Amber's note was, "This is my favorite question. I could talk about this for a long time." So let's let her talk because, I like to learn all the things. Um, so here we are. Checking the chat again one more time. I mean, this is the question, right? This is like why we're all here. So if a therapist wants to feel confident and clear about their next steps, what's one thing they can do right now to start recession proofing their practice?
Okay. My favorite. I think the number one thing that you can do is get super clear about what you want your life to look like. That's the number one thing. If I and I'm like a if you dream it, it will happen kind of person, right? But I am Like, I'm going to freaking go for it. And if it doesn't happen, okay, but I'm going for it. But the only way I can go for it is if I first decide what is it. So I know for me, I want, it feels like I need a lot of time off. I do not want to be in appointments all the freaking time at my desk. It's not good for my brain. I don't like it. So, what does that mean? It means that for me, I need to be able to earn big chunks of income in short periods of time. Intensives are a perfect solution for that to me, or a side hustle if you're at that stage, which should not come before intensives. Please do intensives first because it's a thing that's going to free up the time that you need to learn the thing to do the side hustle. So, do intensives first. I think figure out what you want your life to look like. What do you want your hobbies to be? What kind of time do you want to spend with your kids? Fill out everything in your schedule except work. Do all that first and build out like your ideal weekly schedule. I'm in the pool at this time. I'm going to yoga at this time. I go into my bed at 9. I am listening to a self-help book at 9:30. Fill it all out in your dream life. And then whatever's left is what you have to work with in terms of your work life. And then we start to figure out the next steps from there. If you are in private practice and you're billing insurance, I'm going to get real specific. You're billing insurance. The first thing that I would do if I'm looking to increase my revenue and decrease my work time is I'm going to look across all the insurance that I take and figure out who treats me best, who's the least pain in the butt and pays me the most. And then I'm going to figure out where am I getting most referrals from through this insurance? Is there a particular, for Florida, Blue Cross Blue Shield is the state's primary insurance company. So if I know Blue Cross Blue Shield pays best, then I'm going to start looking at how can I market to people in state jobs because they pay best and I want fewer of clients from these insurance companies that pay less. So I'm slowly increasing my average revenue. I want to create time so that I can do the other stuff, which is going to, for me, would definitely include doing intensives because then I can work less, earn more. Those would be the sequences of steps that I would go through. What does my ideal life need to look like? How many hours does that leave for work? How much do I need to make in those hours? Maybe I want to be in service 12 hours a week. Okay, so what do I need to be making per hour? Maybe it's $200 per hour for 12 hours. How am I going to figure that out? Maybe it's intensives. Maybe it's changing which insurance you take the most of. Maybe it's adding EAPs. Maybe it's marketing to private pay clients. Probably smart to do all the things, see what sticks, what feels best. That would be my number one first step.
Can I ask a question? I think this is really interesting because, and I'm watching the time too. I think this is really interesting because my natural survival instinct in times like this is to be like, I'm not gonna think of my personal life first. I'm gonna just let my work cover everything. So forget yoga, forget whatever. Like, I'm in quote panic because I need to cover my ass or whatever else. And so I think I can look back on times where I did the total opposite of what you're talking about. And so my natural question is like, why do you recommend that people start there?
Yeah, probably a defect in my brain, honestly. Like the best self care I've ever done was when I was really depressed. It was like the most committed I was to taking care of myself in my entire life. I just didn't feel like I had another choice. So I was literally like post-its on the wall, drink water, open the blinds. Like I was like, I gotta do the basics of taking care of myself if I'm gonna function. So I almost think of it
Oh.
like if you're training, let's say the economy and whatever's happening, who knows, maybe it'll be great. And then we'll just be prepared. Political views to myself. So let's say that we know something big is coming and we're going to go like be in a marathon or something like that. Like, let's pretend that we're about to do something, a big race. Wouldn't you prep yourself for that? Wouldn't you train for that? Most of us would. So I think of it that way. Like, we're training for a situation that we don't know what it is. So, how do we get all of our ducks in alignment so that we're ready for whatever happens? And if it happens that it's great, cool. And if it happens that it's not, I want to be freaking prepared.
Ooh, okay, okay. For some reason, hearing it that way, like, shifted it in my brain. That it's not like I'm like going for my like stretch, luxurious. I'm thinking like, okay, what do I need to be able to like operate in my life, operate in my practice, like be prepared, weather the storm, like all that kind of stuff. Because I
Mhm.
think maybe connecting the dots to what you were saying, and then my instinct is if we don't do that, we're setting ourselves up for
Yeah.
failure and burnout and all the things that we definitely do not want to experience.
Yeah. And I can give you a super practical example. Do we have time? I have no idea what time it is. Yeah.
We have
Okay. Go
about
fast.
10 minutes.
Here's a practical example. There was a period of time where I was concerned about the economy. I was like, I don't know what is coming. This is a while back. And I could make a decision. I could take on a lot more work to secure some revenue, or I could do what I thought was smarter, which is take better care of myself so that I could do things that would earn me more money over the longer term.
Mm-hmm.
I made the wrong call. I was like, I don't know if there's going to be money on the other side. And so I'm going to like make as much money as I can right now. And what that ended up meaning was that for the next 9 months, I was unable to do any of the things that would have allowed me to secure my revenue for the next few years because I was just hustling to keep up with all of the commitments that I had made to secure that revenue right then.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act. It depends on where we are financially. But looking back, I regret that decision because it really put my business back at least a year because I could have been using that time when I was hustling to be thinking more vision and long term and getting things in place that would have had exponential more income possibility
Mm-hmm.
and time and energy, all the things.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like there's multiple parts. Like one is like set in place the self-care, the non-negotiables of what you need to keep yourself well, because that keeps your business well. And then some of the strategies around like what is working, what's already paying me. Let me like lean into that. Are there like low-hanging fruit things that could add more income with
Mm-hmm.
not as much like legwork? And
Optimize. Yeah.
then, yeah, yeah. And then number three is like future, like make projecting ahead to my future income. Like, what could I be
Yeah.
doing now that could be generating or like moving my business in the right place over time?
Yeah. Yeah. And this isn't going to sound like I'm being honest, but I truly am because you guys know I love Stephanie, but I do not promote things that I'm not really obsessed with. I just think she's found the answer to this time. Like you guys, marketing something is hard, right? Like, you have to have a product, you have to have a process to market it, you have to have like all these pieces, but you don't with intensives because you already have the skills to do therapy. You already can give it to your current clients. You don't even have to market to new clients. There's a whole thing in her course about how to talk to your current clients about this. A lot of them are going to jump on it. So, all of the hurdles that make other ways to increase your revenue quickly hard, they don't exist with intensives. So, I just feel like it's like the thing. I feel like it's the thing to increase your revenue and free up your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exciting. Of course, like you said, we can be strategic about what that looks like and really hone in the message so it's really specific and really, really like an easy yes or very
An
appealing
easy
to
yes.
your ideal client. So
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. Okay. What else do you have for us? I'm taking a look. Circling back to the question was, what can we do now to feel more confident and more clear
Yeah.
in the midst of the uncertainty?
Yeah, I would launch intensives and learn how to market. Those would be the two things that I would do. I mean, it just so happens. Those would be the two things. And when it comes to marketing, I want you guys to think about two pieces because I wasted a lot of time. You're only trying to do two things. You're trying to get found by your ideal client.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be specific. And then you need to get picked once they find you.
Mhm.
So getting picked means having kick butt copy that speaks to their soul in a good picture on your website and making it easy. That's it. Those are the three things. And then getting found is going to be three ways that you're going to get found. You're going to use baby SEO. Please don't hire it out. They're going to do shit that is not going to help you. You're only going to get local people finding you. There's a specific type of SEO that you need to do. Don't hire it out. Baby SEO, relationships that are real relationships, not networking. And then we're going to, if you've ever made a worksheet for a client, you're a content marketer, baby. That's all content marketing is. And we're going to just have little pieces of helpful content that are going to amplify our baby SEO and our relationship marketing. That's it. That's all we do to market.
Amazing. So good. I feel like I want to shout you out because if you didn't know, Amber has a training series coming up, right?
Yeah,
Where you walk people through some of these techniques that we've touched on. Um,
every one of them.
what do people need to know?
It's called the Freedom Series. I change the name all the time, so I think that's the most recent name. I think it's the Freedom Marketing Method Series, something like that. But I will get you guys a link so that you can sign up if you want to come. And the juicy stuff starts Monday. So we're having like a little kickoff, like live your dream life on Friday, but the juicy stuff starts Monday.
Yay, exciting. And I want to shout you out because you're a speaker at the Therapy Intensive Summit that's
Yeah.
coming up. Woo woo. It's also
Oh, oh,
what?
oh my gosh, I forgot. The
Yeah.
VIP people for your summit, they get the entire Freedom Marketing series for free, already recorded. So if you've been thinking about VIPing it up for the summit and you're like, girl, I do not have time to be going through your free training right now, that's fine because it's all in the VIP.
All the recordings and even the live recordings too, right? All the replays. That
Yep.
is incredibly generous. So you can have the best of both worlds. You can catch the intensive summit and you can also catch the marketing
Marketing.
freedom training series,
Something,
which
something or other.
is fantastic. I've attended it in the past and it's incredible.
Same here.
So thank you for that like kind offer.
Yay.
And yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff that you
Yeah.
contributed. Even a free, even if people don't upgrade to the Summit All Access Pass, you have a really
Yeah.
fantastic freebie in there too. So
Yeah, there's a quiz to show you what kind of marketer you are. So you don't need to do all the marketing. You just pick the one that's the best fit for you and you do that the most and you do the other two just a little.
so good. So good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let me see if there's anything else.
Oh, yay.
I know.
VIP'd it up.
Woo woo.
Awesome.
Any other?
Yes, please, if you are here for Stephanie's training, go to Stephanie's events live and we will send, if you're signed up for my training, we will send you the recordings right after. So no worries about conflicts. We'll get you the recording.
Yay. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks to everybody who joined us live. And for people who are catching the replay, please don't be shy. Put in any comments or questions because we'll keep an eye on it. And yeah, excited to connect with you more next week. There's so
Yeah.
much good stuff right now happening in the therapist community. So
Yeah.
thank
Thank you
you.
for all you're doing.
Same,
Yeah.
same. Awesome.
Good,
Lots of
taking good
love.
care of our peoples.
Yay. Oh, we love you too. Awesome. All right. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Bye.